The band Death, formed by Chuck Schuldiner originally in 1983 under the name Mantis, is a death metal band from Alamo Springs, Florida. This band is credited by many as the first band to release a death metal album with their debut album Scream Bloody Gore from 1987. Although today, I will examine the song Lack of Comprehension from their fourth studio release, Human. The song Lack of Comprehension from the 1991 album Human takes us perspective on the 1990 court case against Judas Priest that attempted to hold them responsible for the deaths of two teenagers, that being James Vance and Raymond Belknap. Two teenagers who made a suicide pact and in 1985 took a shotgun, and ended with Raymond dying and James sustaining life-altering injuries. Following this, James would pass away in 1988 before the case ever went to trial. In the case, James Vance's family argued that Judas Priest was implementing subliminal messages in their songs, and because of those messages, both teenagers were driven to commit and attempt suicide. The judge found insufficient evidence and the case was dismissed. Now I will begin to analyze the lyrics. Chuck begins the song's lyrical content by talking about how the parents of James and Raymond could not understand the feelings and emotions that led both teenagers to suicide. They would rather find a scapegoat, that being Judas Priest, to excuse the weaknesses that both teenagers had that led to their untimely deaths. Laying your guilt and pain on people that had no part in the molding of a life that creates this destruction. In this verse, Chuck talks about how the parents of James and Raymond put their feelings of guilt and pain onto Judas Priest, even though the music group had no part in how either of the individuals were raised, rather than looking at themselves introspectively. This verse examines how the parents of James and Raymond don't take ownership over the ways that they failed to notice the signs before suicide and how the mistakes in their parenting played a huge role that led to the teenagers' decisions, even with the evidence being in front of them, that being the untimely deaths of both teens. The verse before the guitar solo is the chorus of the song, and touches on how parents and to an extent people do not understand the motivations behind suicide. Following the guitar solo, the verse talked presumably about James and Raymond, how people around them created space for the depression they were in and used the analogy of drowning in their flesh and blood for their suicide. So easy to blame the everlasting guilt on a pathetic attempt to justify the ending of a life. Final verse before returning to the pre-chorus and chorus goes back to those central ideas in the song. How the guilt that the families of James and Raymond experienced caused them to pin blame on Judas Priest and justify to themselves that they did not play a role in the teen's suicide. This song to me is not only a demonstration of how death metal and extreme metal in general can be a lot more than what people make it out to be, and how if done correctly, a song can touch on a subject as sensitive as suicide and make you think a lot deeper about the topic. Lyrics are not always about blood, violence, Satan, and gore, but can be so much more. This is especially demonstrated by Lack of Comprehension. The song not directly saying, as a parent, when you lose a child to suicide, you can start shifting the blame, ignore the warning signs, and in some instances, as a parent, played a role. This is an issue that repeatedly shows up within our culture, blaming suicide on outside factors such as music, video games, and social media as a direct cause, when in the vast majority of cases, these factors played a minimal role in leading somebody to commit suicide. The shift in lyrics from gory violence to socially charged isn't only present on the album Human from Death. The following album released individual thought patterns takes a more philosophical approach with songs such as Overactive Imagination, going over the topic of how people pretend to be something or someone they are not. I recommend, if not familiar with the catalog of Death, checking out their music and listening to both albums mentioned in the video.